I would love for you guys to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Unclench your jaw. Relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath again. And now I want you guys to think back to a time in your childhood when you were young. And not one of those like photo album sort of experiences, right? You want to think about a time where maybe you felt a little uncomfortable, maybe a little scared or lonely. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that. Okay. All right. What were you guys wearing? Like, is it maybe visualize that? Think about what you were wearing at that time. Who was there? Maybe who wasn't there? Right? Now, think about you as an adult going into that scene. You see yourself as a child, really small child. What do you say to them? Maybe you want to give them a hug. Maybe you want to tell them they're safe and that everything's going to be okay. Now open up your eyes again. Okay, I know it's a little heavy. But it's going to get better. Don't worry. The thing is, before the age of 3, a child does not know how to emotionally regulate, right? So if they have an environment where you have like a caregiver or, just their external environment, they can't control that, right? So if you ask that child, hey, abandon yourself versus abandoning your caregiver, what do you think that child is going to say? They're going to abandon themselves. Because the thing is that when you're a kid, you don't have any control of it. You need that caregiver. Before the age of 3, you just have them, right? So basically what you're going to do just to be able to be in that situation and exist is you're going to kind of start to develop certain coping mechanisms. Maybe you somebody that's just angry all the time. Maybe you're a people pleaser. Maybe you're a pessimist. Maybe you're somebody that might be wanting to control their environment. You're manipulative. Maybe you just want to daydream all day. And when that happens, that's the thing, is that there's a bridge, right? The bridge is that if you can be aware of that situation when you're a child, you might not, as an adult, revert back to that stressful sort of response when you are an adult. So the thing is, today, basically our topic is awareness. And we have a wonderful guest here today, but I do want to welcome you. And look, hey, it's going to get less heavy than this. It is definitely. And I definitely want to say that, it's wonderful to be able to create that awareness, because now like there are tools that you can have to be able to kind of see it and move on from it and be able to rectify the situation. But I want you to welcome you to the Alia & Co. podcast. I'm your host, Alia Kizilbash, and I'm here with a wonderful guest today, Heather Aranyi, and she is amazing. She is somebody that has some expertise in child development. She's a developmental expert. She also is a professor at Northwestern University, teaching entrepreneurship and innovation. So she is teaching these emerging adults that are just dispersing into our society, but also she teaches leadership, so trauma-based leadership, in the sense that she's teaching these leaders to be able to create this environment. So she has like all of these soft touches in all of these different spaces, but more so, she's been recognized at Fortune magazine as one of the 125 most powerful women in the world. Give it up for her. 125 most powerful women. I am so amazed by that. So we are so blessed to have her here. She just got back from Saudi Arabia, where she spoke at the summit, the international summit. So I want to get into it with Heather, but not before I recognize this beautiful space that we're in. I mean, Oak Street, look at this location. We have people walking by. You guys are as beautiful as can be. I want to recognize Tonya Sampali. So Tonya, wave up. Definitely. Yes. So she is the owner of Gold Coast House, this beautiful establishment here. And she's doing some cool, like kind of cool things afterwards. So definitely speak to her. She is doing some GLP-1 peptides free. Yeah. And she's just, oh my gosh, weight loss injections. And so also some chair massages, lots of cool things. So she is one of my co-hosts, and I am very, very indebted to her. She's such a great human being. Also, we have Kim DeFranco. She is here today, and she is also one of my co-hosts, organizing this in 8 days, which is insane. And I'm so happy that all of you guys are here today. She has a marketing agency, so the KMA team, and she is just really, really ridiculously good at it. So I definitely wanted to recognize her. But I want to move on to our vendor partners. I am humbled that I even know somebody that knows him. Jason Chan is here. I don't know where Jason is right now. But Jason right there, oh my gosh. He is a serial entrepreneur, restaurateur. If you've heard of Gavroche, if you're a foodie, you already know. So I'm not even going to explain what that is. But he also has a caviar line, Polanco Caviar, which is like, okay, I just want to tell you a little segue. Maybe I'll just, Heather, his beautiful fiance here, gifted me some caviar for my birthday. And I took it home, had some. I hid it in the fridge so my kids couldn't have it next to the vegetables. And I literally would go upstairs. I would go upstairs into my closet. I would stick my head in my clothes and literally ate the whole tin myself. So you need to have this caviar. He is here. He is a legend. So you need to have it. And just what an experience to have him here today. So thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. We also have Tammy. Where is Tammy? Tammy. Oh my gosh, Tammy. Okay, so I went to Soulful Fitness. She is the founder of Soulful Fitness. I went to Wicker Park. I stepped inside this space and I was like, how does this place exist here? It is such a step away from anything. It's so novel that if you're in the know, you will most definitely go there. She has all of these like sensory sort of experiences. It's not your typical like just, okay, sound bath, whatever, no, she has that, but she's meditation. She has energy enhancement. Like this woman is just amazing. And so I would definitely suggest that you talk to her afterwards. So I just wanted to thank you, Tammy, for being here. Where is Dr. Samia Hashmi? Oh my gosh. So she is with, Green Circle Wellness. She is a functional medicine doctor. And I feel as though sometimes it's like, what is functional medicine? I don't even know what that is, right? Okay, I'll tell you what it is. When you go to the doctor, they look at your labs and you don't even know still what's wrong with you. That's when you go to a functional medicine doctor. And I know with women, they're going through perimenopause, menopause, all of these different problems, go to her, you will figure out what's happening. And she also takes men too. So men, if you are going through perimenopause, you definitely need to go see her, menopause, whatever it is. But yes, so thank you for being here and definitely talk to her because she has so many cool things that are going on there. And it's definitely pretty amazing. Aiden, right there with Boca Restaurant Group. Yes, Aiden. He has helped us with Sierra Chicago, basically has donated this entire spread. So we're very thankful for Aiden to help with the prep, and beautiful Dante over there, that has helped us with the preparation and the arrangements. We have Soiree, which is a invitation only private luxury group. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's private. So, but we want to thank them. Yes, Soiree. We want to thank them for it. And last but not least, I want to thank me. Me for giving birth to these beautiful girls right here, Ava and Hannah, who have helped me out so much. They are my biggest cheerleaders. So I definitely want to thank them. But yes, no, I love them. So thank you so much. And Finny, of course, Finny, and all of you guys here today. So let's get into it. So ready? You guys ready? All right. So let's take that little grain and let's just hop right back into it. Heather?
It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. In fact, when we're talking about deep breaths, one of the first things I want you all to notice, if I could, is how you're sitting. Because I'm sitting where I'm turned here, which locks your diaphragm and will prevent you from being able to optimally perform. Just try it. Turn your head. Can you feel how it like locks up a little bit there? You don't want that. So I'm going to, in real time, just turn a little bit. If you have alignment is so much of how we optimally perform with our brain and nervous system. And so throughout today, I want to give you really actionable things to do to help you to really optimally perform. I was talking with someone beforehand who said, I work 24/7. And I was like, that's okay. And then a lot of top leaders do. And so really giving tips on how to do that sustainably.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is it's all actionable advice. I think that a lot of people read things in theory and then they're like, well, okay, that was good, but what about me?
Right. How does this affect
and
my actual life?
Absolutely. And it has to be a personalized approach. So, that brain that, we had in terms of the intro, if you think about it, it's you, right? And so we are concerned with you and how to personalize the experience. But I do want to get into my first question. We were talking about programming. Do you feel as though people kind of just create this, they start with this like survival mode sort of experience versus actually getting to know themselves first?
Well, I think so I work all over the world. And one of the things I do is I'm a partner with the State Department. So I help create programs in entrepreneurship and innovation that are of strategic importance. So that's part of why I was in Saudi. So birth to 3 is incredibly important, as you mentioned. And in terms of survival, I work with communities that have had very challenging experiences. And I work with whether it's environmental devastation or war or extreme poverty. I work with communities that have not had those issues. And I think that there are some phenomenal entrepreneurs that have had deeply challenging experiences, and there are phenomenal entrepreneurs that have not. I will say what we are finding more and more is that those 0 to 3 experiences, even if you don't cognitively remember it, we have a functional medicine doctor here, about the ACE scores, and that it can have a profound effect on our biology and on many things that can happen decades later, even that you're not consciously aware of. So being in survival mode causes a cascade of physiological reactions that can come up throughout one's life, and you might not see the connection to it. So in my work, in terms of helping people optimally perform, we do a lot of work on I don't, even though I'm a child development specialist, not so much going into what happened before, but really looking at if people are, for example, one of the trauma responses that is common, people know about fight or flight, right? But do people know about fawn? So, okay, I don't. So it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, right? So oftentimes, if we were in a very challenging environment, we couldn't leave, right? So what happens is that people will, they're not going to fight. They don't want to freeze, so they'll fawn over the person. How does that show up? Has anyone been in a situation where you're like, I literally don't even like this person. Why am I
situationship?
Yes. Why am I kissing up to this person? Or why do I continually? And that's a fawn response that someone may have learned as a survival technique that is showing up. So when things happen early, you can start to see patterns that repeat that can be challenging. And so that's part of why it matters.
So you're saying that perhaps maybe what we deem as a personality, right? So maybe there was a time where I might have thought, oh, I get angry really fast. Maybe that's just my personality. Is it something that is a little bit more than that? So maybe we can, because the thing is, you think with a personality, you can't change it, right? Is that a myth?
So temperament doesn't change. They've done these amazing studies actually with babies when they're 1 day old, and how they respond to stimuli. And there's some that will really like it, and they might be the entrepreneur that we think of as the high risk. And then there's some that are more cautious, and they also could be a great entrepreneur, but they'll be more risk adverse. So temperament tends to last throughout your life. Personality, how we respond, the example you gave, and thank you for sharing it. That is very affected, we find, by regulation and by environment. And what I mean by that is I would be very curious when you would say, I get angry quickly. If we could walk like 3 steps back and say, okay, okay, let's look at what foods you were having, what your sleep was, what was your sensory experience. What oftentimes people will just say like, well, did someone make you mad? But I would say, okay, let's go deeper to that, to what was happening in your sensory environment for how you can optimally perform. It's fine to get angry easily. It's just fuel. The question is it you're getting angry easily and it is creating unmanageability in your life? I know great leaders who get angry very easily. If you look at like people know about like Steve Jobs, for example, right? He would get angry super. So the question I would have for you actually is, do you have a judgment that you get angry easily? And was that hard?
What do you mean by judgment though?
Like, do you think I would get angry really easily? That's not a good thing.
So I judge myself for getting angry.
Yeah, maybe it's a good thing.
Oh.
I mean, it's just fuel, right? It's just an emotion.
Right.
So then I would say, if you're getting angry easily and it's disruptive in your relationships, you're making bad work decisions, that's one thing. But if you get angry easily and that becomes part of why you're such a powerhouse and you create podcasts and you do amazing work and you have companies, then I don't see why it's a problem.
So you think it's okay to feel what you're feeling, is just to be able to channel it in a way that's productive?
I mean, yeah, it's energy. Where I see that entrepreneurs and leaders get really stuck is when they've burned out and they're just flatlining. Has anyone had that experience where you're just like, I see hands going up, right? That's really hard because at that point, your adrenaline and your cortisol, it's like working again. It's one of the reasons why I love that we're doing IVs here, that we're doing, that's really challenging. But working with top leaders all over the world, whether corporate or government, there's all different personality types, and where people can't perform personally and professionally is when they start feeling nothing.
So better to feel than not to feel?
I mean, I think so. I think of emotions as energy.
Yeah. Emotions is energy. Okay. So it's okay to have emotions. It's just, but not to act on them in a way that is detrimental, maybe hurting other people, you think? Or?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if it creates unmanageability. If you, for example, you have your team and can I give an example of where it's positive and where it's negative?
Yes. Love that.
So has anyone here hired someone where they might be really good at their job, but they let people do crappy work? Yes? No? Daniel's like, hard no. Daniel's like, they lasted 3. No way. So that would be someone who you're like, no, you need to have stronger expectations and hold to it, and a sense of like, this is not okay, right? Another person might feel like they come in and they scream at their team, and that's not a good use of anger.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the thing. Okay. So you have all of these different ways that people exhibit their emotions, right? You feel the emotions. It maybe is part of what you think your personality is, controlling the negative outcomes where it's hurting other people. But then like, do you think that, maybe people get kind of burned out, like when it becomes a physical, kind of like implementation of maybe somebody's negative emotions?
So burnout to me is, I think it's often viewed as like a neck up thing. Like people are just like, they're tired, they're this, they have a negative mindset, which I could do a whole podcast on my, as opposed to like a deeply physical response. And something that I would offer for all of you is to really notice if you've had burnout or you feel fried, what the physical environment was like at the time. So for example, that really big thing where they're like, oh, we're going to have open offices. And did anyone go through that? Yeah. And some people love that, but for some, they can't optimally perform that way. It's too much stimulation. And so with burnout, it's usually a series of stressors that were over and over against how we optimally perform that we override and ignore. And then we're just like, I'm done. It's like it's like unplugging your computer when it's glitching. Our body's like, we're not doing this anymore.
Do you think in a society now where we have so much access to information, there's like almost too much information. There's so much information being just scrolling. There's an example that the amount of information that we have now in one day
Right.
is basically the amount of information that somebody in the 1700s had in their entire life, right? That's like a massive, so do you think physiologically our bodies are even able to handle this amount, and maybe that kind of causes some sort of bad outcomes?
So I think it depends. I think it depends on someone's how they're wired. There are some people that really thrive on that like massive dopamine hit on a lot of information, and then they use that to create something or to put something together. But I will say that the top people I work with, a huge thing is controlling the noise. And if they're going to be, they do not scroll for hours. They're controlling your focus is like really foundational to optimal performance. And so does anyone here like find that when you scroll, it's late at night?
Yeah.
Right. So that's,
Exactly.
And so a lot of times I'll see an article or someone will say like, don't scroll late at night. And I'm like, well, why don't we examine what's happening then? Right. So oftentimes when people are scrolling late, they're like just looking for a dopamine hit to kind of calm down. Right. So right. So instead of saying, okay, the problem with that is, I will offer that then right before you're going to sleep, you're inputting a lot of information that you might not want to be focusing on during your sleep. Right before you go to sleep, first thing when you wake up is when you are optimally, able to integrate things. So instead I would look for a different dopamine hit.
So like eating chocolate?
I mean, I'm not going to say
Yeah, but definitely these like social media dopamine hits are definitely short-lived because your body recognizes that it's not actually a real thing that's happening.
it's a
right?
cost. There's a cost.
Yeah, it's definitely a cost. So, now that we're seeing personality, we're seeing all of these different reactions that we have growing up. We're seeing how our environment and who we are specifically has a total effect on the way that we behave, right?
Right.
And for everybody, it's totally different. For every single human being, it is very different. Is there maybe a hack, broad spectrum, that you think that you can offer to people that, hey, I'm feeling kind of weird right now. Maybe I might be whatever, what can I do? If the first thing is sensing it, right? So what would you do?
So I love this question, and I'm going to give a couple. Yeah. And I'll give it for all of you. Yes. Is that okay?
Mhm.
So alignment is incredibly important in terms of our brain and our nervous system. So everyone's sitting up and looks wonderful, but I'm going to ask you actually to slouch if you could, and to breathe on your hand and notice the temperature, like really slouch, like how, and what's the temperature? There's always going to be one person who
Hot.
Yes. Yes. Now go into a stress mode if you're like super stressed out. Very similar, right? So instead, I want you to sit up like you want to be 2 inches taller. Like, when you're like a little kid getting measured. And I want you to breathe on your hand again. Temperature?
A little less hot,
right?
Yeah.
And the more you align, the cooler the breath gets, the more you're in your resonance. So you want the air to be cool. That's when and now if I'm going to take it one step farther, where I'm going to ask you to really, I'm not a fan of taking deep breaths, if that's okay. Sorry. I'm going to ask you to just breathe all the air out, and then let the air come in, and then breathe on your hand. So everyone, let's just breathe out. Out, out, out. There's always more air than you think. Breathe out, 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 out. Release. And then breathe on your hand. That, when you're in that physiology, is great for decision making. So that is when you look at optimal performance. So when I'm working with someone who literally was working with someone this week who had the things happening where they were up for 3 nights straight, and they had to be up for 3 nights straight. That was not that was the nature of what was happening. these little things, which can help rewire and connect us to, getting oxygen, getting our brain and our nervous system so we can do it. The other thing that I love is bilateral motion. So moving as you're sitting there, if you're in like a big meeting, you're thinking about something, going back and forth with your toes where people won't even see it. And it doesn't have to be your whole, it kind of unfreezes.
What are you doing with your toes?
Up and down, up and down.
Oh, just
up and down.
Okay.
Up and down, up and down, up and down. But not at the same time. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You may feel like your head start to tingle when you do that. Does anyone feel that? Yeah? Yes. So these are very, it's not, for some people, the nature of the gig is they're going to be on. They need to be on. They're doing. And so part of what I do is I don't judge how much someone should work. I don't judge any of that. I work with people deeply on how they can optimally perform. That's why Fortune gave me that award. It's because they're like, how have you created so many ecosystems and so many people who do so well? And it's this type of work, deep work on optimal performance.
And that, I would say that that's definitely an added layer, right? Because I think that most people will do therapy, they might meditate a bit, this and that, but there is a foundational root somatically, if you're thinking about it. And that is a beautiful thing. So basically being aware and conscientious of what your body is doing. I know you do a lot of sensory work, sound, the idea of your body moving and everything. Just to wrap up, what can someone do? What would you suggest for someone just beginning, right? They want to get started. They want to get started in a way to be able to understand themselves more. I know there are a lot of different keys that you mentioned, but what would you say would be maybe one important step that somebody who is just kind of like, as we did the intro, just recognizing that there's an added layer. How could one get started?
So the first thing I would say, and I say this to my students, and I have former students in the room, so is like, don't listen to what people tell you in terms of like, this is how people perform best. This is what you need to do. You need to be in a quiet space. You need to be going to sleep early. You need to get a certain amount of sleep. Really start to interrogate what patterns help me optimally perform and what patterns cause me to crash. And so really when you think about entrepreneurship or growing anything, your number one asset is your brain and your nervous system, right? That entrepreneurial endurance and decision making. And so really evaluating what environments cause you to thrive and who are you surrounding yourself with? It's really important.
Yes.
If you are recreating a dynamic from when you were young, where you're like, I am literally doing 5 people here's job. And you notice like, that was kind of my role in my family. Like these things can repeat. And so really making sure that it's not only what feels comfortable, because sometimes what feels comfortable is actually a repeated pattern. It's something that feels optimal, where you're doing your best work.
I think that we're all in a society where we're just pushing through and we feel as though we just need to keep going. But I do believe that just after listening to this, it is a certain nuanced level of awareness that you need to have to, you want to perform optimally. Why would you want to be suboptimal, if anything, So no, I really thank you for that. So, I think, so how can we reach you? How can we know more about these beautiful, wonderful studies and examples of being able to regulate your nervous system? I know with Tammy, I know at least for me, at least this conversation that I'm having and the conversations that I've had with you before is to be regulating your nervous system, realizing that actually that's really important. What would you say, what else can we do and how can we get started? Maybe we want to work with you or find out more about this program that you have.
So people are welcome to follow me on Instagram where I give tips. So it's just my name, Heather Aranyi, and they're welcome to email me, or go to my website. It's heatheraranyi.com, and there'll be a way people can sign up and get more information on really actionable tools and strategies. And in terms of workshops, I do a lot. I have one of my business partners here. We've talked about doing stuff. So people are welcome to contact me if they are interested in group or individual coaching.
I love that. What do you guys think? Yeah. So well, I'm curious to hear actually your feedback. I mean, anything like, kind of stand out to you guys? Maybe, yeah, Heather.
What other suggestions besides doom scrolling?
So I think it's really important to be to look at what is the positive thing I'm getting out of doom scrolling, right? So I will talk like it can be there can be a cortisol release, which can be like it can be exciting, even if it's negative. There's a physiological bonus to it. So what I would say to you is like, okay, what other things would give you a reaction like that are positive? So I also don't find it to be helpful to just tell people like put away your phone in another room because people won't be able to sleep. They're used to getting that, right? Did you find that? Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's not words.
But that's the same thing. But it's the same thing. You're getting a hit off of that. And so to go like, okay, that was like for my physiology, in order to then come down and go to sleep, I'm needing that engagement. So one, don't judge yourself on it. Notice the pattern. Really notice if it's unmanageable or not. Because maybe you're like a boss and doing really well and you spend an hour doom scrolling or you watch like a murder show, but it's fine, right? It's your lullaby. A lot of lullabies are very, very disturbing, by the way. Yeah, but right. So that's my thing. Like, is it actually a problem? Right? Don't listen because someone else says it's a problem.
Amazing.
Sure.
Well,
Great
guys,
question.
thank you so much. Heather is around. So, afterwards, if you want to have a one-on-one customizable talk with her, you're more than welcome to. But I definitely wanted to thank everyone for being here. We feel very blessed in terms of, you for being here, but then all of our amazing vendors that are here. We couldn't have done it without you. But yes. Okay. Hannah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I loved Saudi. So I just have to say, I highly recommend. I highly recommend it. And for people who are entrepreneurs who are looking at doing big things, I mean, it's very incredible. There's literally not enough cement in the entire world for the amount of construction happening in Riyadh. That's not a metaphor. There's literally not enough. So that's and they when I talk to people about Saudi, I find that there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's a really wonderful place, and they're very interested as part of their Vision 2030. Look it up if you haven't looked it up. In terms of entrepreneurship and bringing it, and part of that is women in entrepreneurship and leadership. So, in my keynote with Fortune, I talked about how to go from an emerging leader to a top leader and the strategies around it. And I do a lot of work internationally, and I do not find the message to be different. And the women there were ready. His Royal Highness has done amazing work where women can now work, women can now drive. Women were already allowed to go to school, and I would meet these women. And this is all within the last like 6-7 years. So incredible opportunities. And they would already have their PhD in engineering. And I was like, and they're like, well, we were just we were going to be ready. We were going to be ready to go. I mean, just we have women astronauts. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely hitting the ground running for sure.
It's very internet for people who have companies and they're like, I want to do something huge. I cannot recommend highly enough really studying some of the things that are happening.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here. We're going to, she's here. So, it's an intimate gathering, having conversations. We're just very happy to have you here, and tag us in any pictures, social media wise. I would love to connect with all of you. Just very grateful. And again,
Thank you for your important work. It really matters. Thank you.
Likewise, there's more important work happening on your end.
It's not a competition.
No, but I'm aware of it. I mean, I just, I adore you. So yes.
Thank you.
So guys,
mutual.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And feel free, have some food, have some champagne. Love having you here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.